everyone, and welcome back to D&D&D&D&D campaign number 1, Under Locks and Keys. When we last left off, the party began the next round of the tournament playing Vampire the Masquerade. Asari and Avaben, having lived in the part of the world where the Nosferatu infection originated, are fairly knowledgeable on the subject and have been helping the rest of the party get acclimated to their new abilities. Avaben made plans with some of their fellow minor league fighters to spread the infection among the minor league throughout the night to maximize the minor league's chances at victory. Meanwhile, Asari and Greylog snuck out in the night with the Seven Samurai, breaking the terms of their contract in order to investigate another of the Seven Wonders. This time, the Balcony to Nowhere. On reaching said balcony and checking out the door that it allows access to, also, Austin, our audio is a little shaky. If you can fix that. While that was happening, and they discovered that their previous opponents have been trapped in a sealed away locker room, and they blame Captain Merrick and First Mate Nitro for their current state. On sprinting their way back after a brief encounter with the halfling thief who's been following them, the party was unfortunately caught by Nitro, but Nitro let them off the hook and doesn't seem overly concerned about them being out at night. With that, as the party settles back into the locker room, Avaben, you have made plans with the bomb squad and the swarm storm that this effectively changes nothing, and they are ready to resume their plan. Avaben slowly approaches each of you quietly and explains the plan he has made with your fellow minor league fighters. So all of you are privy to this.
He'll mention only who they have agreed to target.
All right,
He won't
so
mention who's being targeted by who are the others.
Okay. All right.
Do you remember who we were targeting?
I believe that. Yeah.
Did you
So.
write it down?
Well, I expected you guys to remember it.
You
But
expected me to... I don't have anything to write it down on.
But if I recall, I believe that the ones that you were requested to hit were the Scorpio Sailors and I want to say the Firing Line. The Bomb Squad originally agreed to hit the Seven Samurai, and the Swarm Storm said he would hit the Deck Stackers, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but the Seven Samurai have been dealt with.
Dealt with.
Well,
I see
Aven
problems.
mentions who we were supposed to target.
Yeah, so you guys are informed that the party is expected to hit the Scorpio Sailors and the Firing Line before the next match. And in exchange, you basically guarantee that you will progress to the next round without a fight.
You don't want me biting anyone else.
Does yours not work the same?
No.
Very well. I guess the
The
rest of us will have to deal with
you
it.
don't keep control.
She has weak blood.
I'll show you weak in a minute.
Oh, please do.
Just narrow my eyes at him.
What? No bites.
Also,
As
Aven, once
tempting
he's filled the
as
party,
it is, I just hate.
once Aven has filled the party, he's gonna check in on the guys who are gonna deal with the Seven Samurai and just make sure they remember. They have to keep they need to keep in mind that someone else already bit them. Basically, keep that in mind if you're when you're going for them. I feel like it might be important to keep in mind.
The Bomb Squad kind of nod quietly, and after a bit of consideration, they eventually, well, we still intend to keep our end of the bargain, seeing as you've... And they kind of tilt their head to watch as Asari is draining one of the last members of the samurai. Taking care of it.
Well, that's the thing. From what I've been told, she doesn't actually have control of them. With something about her strain.
In that case,
so you may need to try and override her control, her bite, I guess.
Understood.
I don't know if that's possible or not.
Only one way to find out. We'll see it done. You just follow up your end of the bargain, and with any luck, we'll all progress to the next match. Imamu will likely not pit infected teams against one another. That would spoil the fun, so to speak.
I think I find that agreeable. I guess you just wait until they fall asleep. It'd be good if only we knew someone who could use a spell to put them all to sleep.
Even if I had my powers, my magic doesn't do that sort of thing. And our magic is not exactly subtle.
Can I hear them, or are they just being quiet?
Have Aben, you going out of your way to keep this conversation away from your other party members, or because bear in mind, you guys and the vampires are the only ones in the locker room who appear to obviously be awake.
Yeah, Vaven will make sure the party is, at the very least, he'll tell them.
All right. So yeah, I'll say you guys
might
can
be able to do something. I'm not entirely sure. how my magic works, but I can try to do a sleep spell.
Well, is it gonna make a lot of noise?
I have no idea.
If worse comes to worse, we're stronger than them. We are undead creatures of the night, after all. If they wake up, we simply force them back to sleep. By any means necessary.
Well, I guess all of us combined we'd have a pretty decent chance, I guess.
Yeah, that seems alright. Assuming your whole sleepy thing works, I was thinking maybe we should take shifts. Like, you guys, and he points to the bomb squad, hit up your targets while we keep watch. I'll hit my targets while you guys keep watch, and me and the bomb squad will keep watch while you guys hit yours. That way, if we do wake somebody up, it's only one group at a time, yeah?
Well, I also had an idea.
What you got, big guy?
So, I actually have some smoke bombs. We'll be able to see through it. They won't. And it's quiet.
Well, save that for if they wake up.
And you can hear the Swarm Storm kind of mutter to himself like, wait, can we see through it?
We can see through darkness. Why can't we see through smoke?
You can see the Swarm Storm kind of like tilt his head and just, I don't think that's how it works, sir.
It's just kind of, sorry, just kind of, it doesn't work that way, love.
If anything, we can always smell them out.
Possibly, but we'll save that as a last resort.
And are your more frail-hearted teammates going to stay out of our way?
He'll look to Paul, who's, I think, still just...
Yeah, he's
laying
just sitting in
there.
his hammock, yeah.
I don't think he's going to be too much of a problem.
I mean, it's not like, okay, I guess technically we are killing them, but like, they'll still be, conscious, and it's only
not
going to last for a few
permanent.
hours.
Yeah, until they shoot us with cannonballs again. It's a weird statement.
You can see the Swarm Storm kind of smirk a little bit, seeming to find some amusement in it as well.
Yeah, it sounds like we got everything planned.
Nothing left to do but wait.
Oh, sorry, you want to see if you
I'll
can do
try
your
to
little
go
trick?
to the middle. Yeah, I'll be as quick as I can. I'll
Can you use Jeremy's mic if you're nearby?
I'm not there. I'm in Arkansas.
Okay, if need be, use text.
You should be able to hear me okay.
Well,
We
heard
can
that.
now.
Well, we couldn't.
I was just saying that I'm gonna sneak into the middle of the room where, if I do like a sleep spell, isn't it like a range? I'm not sure how it's gonna work.
Well, yeah, basically, you're just one of the few vampires that can do just straight up magic. So, all right. So you're gonna try and use a sleep spell.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead and roll me a d10.
And being vampires,
Okay.
we should be immune to sleep spells, right?
Yes. And even if you weren't, she's just trying to put them specifically to sleep, so it wouldn't matter anyway.
Yeah, it's not like an AoE.
Those sleep spells can be targeted like that?
No, I don't believe in D&D typically,
No.
but in this game, yes.
Yes, the sleep spell in
8.
D&D is AoE.
Okay. And roll me a second d10 if you don't mind. So that's one success.
Six.
Okay. Flower and Fall, Paul, the two of you, after hearing some like hushed conversation in the next room, Asari kind of quietly enters the locker room, Asari, as you look around, you can see a lot of the other teams had like tried to stay awake through the night, and while some of them had been briefly disturbed by Nitro's return, speaking from experience, actually trying to stay up all day, especially when you know you have something physically straining to do tomorrow, and you just did something physically straining that day, it's a tough ask, and one by one they're already beginning to drift off. And
Just make sure they stay that way.
yeah, and Asari, tuning in to the thaumaturgy that your infection grants you, you cast a spell, and one by one, what few members had been kind of like asleep but not quite in REM sleep, like they might still get disturbed out of it if somebody touched them, begin to slump in their hammocks and quietly, or in some cases quite loudly, snore as you knock out everyone in the locker room.
Kind of stand up and then just gesture wildly like, ta-da!
That will do nicely. Well, who
Right.
wants to go first?
We'll take care of it first. And the bombs begin to roll into the locker room and kind of look around real quick before locating their chosen target, which would be the Seven Samurai.
So I'm actually gonna. I want to watch this. Like, I want to see how little balls bite.
Asari, you watch as the Seven Samurai, who just were basically knocked out by your feeding, as we established that Justin just straight up passed out. They're already pretty much unconscious, as they had trusted that you would ensure they maintained their free thought. And the orbs roll up to each member of the samurai. A few of them, specifically Justin and Al, being left out, as there's only 5 of the bomb squad. And you guys watch as the balls suddenly fall still, and these vaguely humanoid spirits emerge from the orbs. And they kind of look to each other and kind of start to like whisper and strategize before one of them approaches you, Avaben, and we will need to borrow a body. Do you mind if we borrow yours?
Well, as long as it's the usual definition of borrowing and not a pirate's definition of borrowing.
We are not pirates, friend. We are mercenaries. And with that, the spirit touches you, and for you, everything fades to black. The rest of you watch as the spirit of the leader of the bomb squad enters Avaben's body. He kind of starts twitching and convulsing before his neck kind of cracks, and he looks over all of you. His stance a lot different as he beholds all of you, and all right, let's get this over with. And he leans down to Justin first and bites into his neck. And what precious little blood he has left, he begins to drain.
Now I'm thinking, does that mean Ivabin has control over him?
Because he's being possessed by a poltergeist, the poltergeist will maintain the control. They just needed a body with a mouth to do it. The bomb squad are poltergeists that possess grenades so that they can beat their opponents through a TKO. You all watch as Avaben's body, possessed by the leader of the bomb squad, goes up and down the line, draining each member of the Seven Samurai. Their bodies turn pale and cold, and they slump And eventually, Avaben, blood covering his mouth, looks up at all of you and with a wide grin, step one complete. And Avaben's body twitches, convulses again, and Avaben, your consciousness returns to your body. You're not sure what happened, but you're standing in roughly the same place you left
How
off.
do I feel? Do I have like a headache or something?
You're a little sore, but the first thing that you notice is that you actually feel really good. You're full. It's like you just got back from a buffet. Like, imagine the feeling that you have whenever you just get back from a day at Golden Corral. Like, you feel stuffed and like you feel pretty good.
So, how did it go?
As the spirits re-enter their grenade bodies, the leader rolls over to you and... Your body is quite fit. Very useful. The feeding went smoothly. They'd already lost quite a bit of blood, but if we're lucky, my infection taking hold of theirs will ensure that we got the job done. Swarmstorm,
Hopefully.
you're up next. Oh, yeah. Okay. Whew. Never bitten somebody before. All right. And he kind of nervously starts to trepidously make his way towards the deck stackers.
Okay, this is the one that Avaben's most concerned about. Like, can this kid pull this off without floundering?
He kind of... Like, he gets to the first of the deck stackers and seems like kind of unsure of like what angle he's supposed to come in at, and then eventually settles for just putting his hands on their shoulders and like forcibly adjusting their head, which, sorry, you note, if you hadn't put them to sleep, they absolutely would have woken up. But once he's positioned their heads appropriately, he begins to feed 1, 2, 3, 4 on each member of the deck stackers. As he rises, covered in blood, from the next member, he steps back, seeming kind of shaky and like nervous, but a wide, blood-spattered smile on his face. Oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh. And he kind of wipes at his mouth, and whenever he sees he has blood on his sleeve, he kind of curiously starts like nibbling at his garments, and one of the bomb squad members kind of rams into his foot to get his attention, and enough. Keep watch. And he kind of, right.
What party is participating in this? Because I know Sari said she's not, because she don't get control.
She can't. I mean, technically she can. She can do it.
But she doesn't have like, she doesn't get control from this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know Paul is like traumatized in the corner.
No, he's not traumatized.
He's just trying to be really careful because he doesn't want to fly into a blood rage.
Are the twins participating?
Flower and Fall, do you wish to join?
Rip.
All right, we'll come back to you. Greylog, you in?
Oh yeah, he needs to feed. He's been watching this, pretty much bouncing up and down on his toes, just holding himself back by force.
Yeah, you push your powers like crazy. I think you get like 3 dice in now.
Yeah. He's 3 hunger dice in, and bear in mind, 5 is typically where it maxes out.
I'll say if the twins are, then Avaben would suggest if they could maybe one of them helps him with the one group we're going for, and one of them helps Greylog with the other group we're going for. If not, then we'll just split it between him and Greylog.
Yeah. Not sure. I'll give him a boop just in case, but until they get back, let's just assume it's you and Greylog for now. So Greylog, Avaben, The two of you stand side by side. The Swarm Storm and the Bomb Squad are keeping a careful watch to make sure that the last remaining victims in the minor league do not. If they do awaken, at the very least, you have some backup. What do the two of you do? I'll let you know if I hear back from Qua.
He's just
Which one
chowing
has
down.
more?
The Scorpio Sailors have 5 members. The firing line also has 5, so it's equal.
Raven, alright, then we'll just say Raven and Greylock pick at random.
That work for you, Grellig?
Yeah.
Okay. The two of you sneak your way over to the respective teams, and Greylog, roll me. I'm gonna call this a stealth and let's call this a stealth and instinct check. Greylog, you roll me 5d10. Avaben, you roll me 2d10.
Okay.
What's the threshold for success again?
5 or higher. As long as you don't get two 10s or 2 1s, as long as it's a 5 or higher, it's a success.
I have 2 6s.
All right, so 2 successes for Avaben. Greylog?
So
Oh.
this isn't good. I had 3 success, 2 fails, but the 2 fails are both 1s.
Were those your blood dice?
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Can we say if Raven does his first?
Let me pull back up my reference book.
it sounds like y'all doing it at the same time.
Greylog is a hungry boy. He forgets to be careful sometimes.
Hold back.
Not to mention, you've been watching other vampires feed while you yourself are like getting close to the verge of starvation.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why Paul stayed out of it.
All right, so you avoided a bestial failure, but you did get a messy crit.
What does that mean?
Basically, basically the idea is a messy crit. You do still succeed because he did get successes on the hunger. Basically, if you crit fail on the hunger dice and don't get any successes, it's a bestial failure. What happens at that point is I just straight up take control of your character as you start slaughtering all living things in your immediate area. But since he avoided a bestial failure, this will be a messy crit where he succeeds, but if there's anyone watching, which this doesn't apply here, but if anyone had been watching, it would have been made immediately obvious to everyone that he's a vampire, which, bear in mind, in the normal setting of Vampire the Masquerade is one of those you immediately get chased by vampire hunters kind of shit.
But luckily no one's awake, and everyone already knew anyways.
Yeah. Avaben, you quietly approach your targets, which I will say are the firing line, and begin to quietly feed. And you've made it to about the second member of the firing line whenever you kind of glance over during the feeding process to see how Greylog's doing. And you see Greylog is bent over the captain of the Scorpio Sailors, is staring down at them with like gleaming red eyes. and then just lunges down, and rather than like just biting and sucking out the blood, basically just starts tearing their throat out and just lapping up the blood as it flows.
Raven's like, God, I hope he doesn't mess this up.
However, thankfully, a sorry sleep spell is very strong, which combined with the calming effect of vampire saliva, the Scorpio sailors do not awaken, even as they are being messily slaughtered in their hammocks.
Now, it's a strong sleep spell.
Not only strong sleep spell, this is how vampire feedings normally work. Like, their saliva not only keeps you calm, but the moment they start draining you, that hypnosis effect kicks in. So you're compelled to just sit there and let them do it. Now, vampires are horrifying.
So, Matthew, isn't there like a point where all the fighters will gather before they go off to their fights?
Yes, because you guys really don't have much better to do beyond sit in the locker room and wait for your names to be called.
Because we have to at some point show that we have those controls.
Mm-hmm.
I figure whenever we gather before what's his name, the captain,
Mm-hmm.
that's whenever we can show the control, and they'll be like, "Well, I guess that settles that."
Avaven, your feeding finishes a lot quicker as it's a lot less messy.
A lot neater.
So you kind of watch with
Basically,
bated.
this is the equivalent of like a vampire, like doing that thing where they take a napkin and pat in their mouth.
Yeah, just, yeah, and you watch as Greylog gets to the last of the sailors and messily kills and drains them before rising. Not only is Greylog's mouth covered in blood, but his chin, his chest, and even parts of his stomach and arms are just covered in the blood of the Scorpio sailors. But Greylog, you are now
Does the
full.
locker room have towels?
Nope.
Now I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. I mean, I could totally see that, but still being a human, you know.
Yeah, fair. Greylog, you are no longer hungry, as you fed 5 times, but you are covered in blood.
Raven's a little overfed.
Yeah.
I think vampires don't get fat.
Yeah, typically vampires who feed like this will kind of go into like periods of like torpor, I believe is what it's called. Like whenever animals like kind of beta hibernate. Like Dracula would go months between his feedings.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But the mission is accomplished.
Yep. Silence falls over the locker room. The stench of undeath and freshly spilled blood permeates the room. And Paul, almost against your will, you find your stomach begins to growl. You're not hungry yet, but like, you know, you like the instinct to drain is still there. And you guys have fed on every member of the minor league. Avaben, the firing line are now your vampiric children, and you have dominion over them. Greylog, the same applies to you with the Scorpio sailors.
I guess Raven will gather with the other vampires and be like, so I guess whenever we gather before the matches tomorrow, demonstrate to the captain our success.
Yeah.
Did the others hear that, Matthew?
Like I assume so, unless you're trying to keep it quiet.
Yeah, all the vampires, not the others. That's in the party, the other vampires.
No, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, unless you specify otherwise, then yeah.
I didn't say anything.
Well, yeah, I was letting the party talk first. The swarm storm, kind of again nervously jittering side to side, kind of gives a nod and yeah, I've never won a match doing something like this, but teamwork makes the dream work, right, guys?
Yeah. It's
I
tasty
wonder what
too.
your captain will think of this success?
He kind of nervously smiles and, given that your friend just messily killed and ate one of his friends, I'm probably going to keep this part quiet.
Yeah, just don't mention that part. That's one of his friends.
Oh yeah, and he points to the Greylog, the captain of the Scorpio sailors, whose throat you tore out. That there is Captain Blackheart. And that over there is not a friend of the captain's, but a friend of the cabin boys. What was their name? I'm so bad with names. And he kind of like thinks for a long moment, but as he's trying to recall, it does occur to you that indeed, if this is to be believed, Greylog, you just turned the pirate lord Scorpio and some of their crew.
Well, Greylog, you can use that as a brag. You once got the jump on one of the pirate lords.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
I'm sure he won't be pleased about being eliminated like that.
Yeah, probably
Well-
not. He's got a bit of a temper. Like I said, we'll keep this one between us.
So, are they going to wind up waking up in a little bit whenever it moves all the way through them?
I'll say, sorry, you would know the answer to this. Whenever you feed as a vampire, because you fed at night, your powers have kicked in. It will take only moments before they are officially undead and under your control. So basically, by the time this conversation has happened, they're already under your control and are basically just waiting for orders.
So, I guess it just
Mhm.
leave them there.
So I'll just kind of like look at my fake watch. Oh, they should be under control about now.
I guess if anyone will look to the what's the team that's a bunch of balls called again?
The bomb squad.
Look to the bomb squad. Like maybe you should test and see if you have control over the 7 samurai.
Very well. 7 samurai awaken, and you watch as all of them open up their eyes, which are red and lifeless, and stand up and begin to approach the bomb squad. Avaven, you can see your own teeth bite marks on their neck.
A baby.
Yeah,
Yeah, they possessed you, remember?
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like you're the one who bit them.
So baby will just ain't good. Our plan should go just as we planned. Assuming they don't match one of us up against the minor leagues. Or major leagues. There is an uneven number of our teams.
One of us will have to fight the major league, that is certain. But if we're lucky, perhaps one of these folk were matched up against a major league vampire team, in which case it is not our problem. And if one of us gets matched up with the major league, well... And he nods to you guys. We all have good track records thus far. We are some of the favorites to win, all three of us. Perhaps why we were chosen for this curse.
That is true. I think at the very least we've definitely greatly increased our odds of success.
Yeah, that's what matters. We got math on our side.
I'm sure most
Yes,
pirates don't
math.
have a great understanding of math unless they're the ones who are in charge of buying the powder.
Yeah, that's fair. And he pulls his mask back down to cover his blood-soaked mouth. And the bomb squad.
Could have done is leave us something to wash up with.
Well, if I know our audience thus far, more than likely, they would consider the mess to be part of the show.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be quite impressive when most of the vampires from the minor league come out covered in blood.
Exactly. The audience isn't going to get to see a fight, so if I understand the situation, the captain is counting on the mess to be part of the appeal. They won't get to see a fight, but they'll look at you, Mr. Orchin, and struggle to determine exactly what we had done. Their imaginations will fill in most of the gaps. And that alone is worth the price of admission.
Only they had somebody to watch us while we were doing this.
Well, limitations, I suppose. Captain's a lot of things, but none of us are exactly super talented wizards.
Yeah. Imagine if that kind of thing was available to everybody. I don't even know what vampires would do in that kind of world.
Well, luckily, that is not the world we are in. Well, we got nothing better to do. It's not like we're going to be able to sleep, and it's just the three of us and some puppets. You guys ever play cards?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there any Sherwood card games, Matthew?
Not super commonly. Most of what Sherwood folk do for fun is things like hunting, or like just kind of exploration of the surrounding woodlands. So card games don't exactly tend to be
Gambling isn't exactly a thing in Sherwood.
It's not a thing. It's just typically not in the form of cards. They usually use dice instead.
I imagine someone would know of card games. One with her mom being her mom, and two, college.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew, what dice game you think would have been particularly popular?
I'll say just off the top of my head, war games. Just like rolling and just whoever gets the higher result wins, basically. But I'll say you probably also had a fair few early RPGs, the kind that didn't need character sheets and just determined by the dice rolls alone.
It was just like I never played cards much. My people always preferred dice.
Yeah, well,
I know cards.
well, anyone got a deck? We got a few hours to kill.
I don't, but which team did he drain?
The Scorpio Sailors.
Scorpio Sailors.
All their
So
eyes awaken.
Give me a deck of cards.
I'm afraid we are disadvantaged of possessing decks of cards on our immediate person, Master.
That sucks.
Wait, Samurai Cardman and the gambler of the Seven Samurai straightens up. Hand Mr. Orchin your best deck of cards. And the samurai nods, approaches you, Greylog, and from his vest pocket pulls out a deck of cards and holds them out to you.
I will accept them.
Also, Matthew, real quick. Matthew?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay, what was there? Did they ever establish like what the official indication of forfeiting a match is?
They never gave an official indication, but what most of the minor league has been speculating is that because the vampirism gives you control, you can literally just go out onto the match and then just tell them to surrender, and they will, which in and of itself is proof that you infected them, because who in their right mind is going to just surrender when the Spear of Ares is on the line?
Yeah, so I guess whenever everybody gets there, we'll just tell them to put their weapons down.
Mm-hmm. Plus, it makes it a more public display, which the bomb squad is counting on being part of the entertainment value.
Yeah, so just when everyone gathers in the arena before their fight. Just everyone, just put your weapons down.
Mm-hmm. All right. Does anyone have anything they'd like to do through the night, or are you content to just hang out with the infected until the time comes? At the very least, until the sun comes up. At which case, you can wander as you please.
There's one thing.
What would you like to do, Greylag?
I'm going to have the ones that I infected give me all of their coins
Oh my
I
god.
was waiting for it.
and
I was-
something that only something special for the captain as a souvenir.
I figured. I was like, man,
He's got to have proof that he bested them in some way.
Exactly. Leverage.
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 yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone else?
Well, sleeping's not an option, so laying down through the entirety of the day. All day, every day. Or at least until I'm not a vampire.
Okay. Flower and Fall. Anything?
How hungry are my characters?
Not at all. Actually, you haven't used any of your powers yet.
Cool.
Yeah, you only lose hunger if you go a day without feeding, and if you use your abilities, will make it drain faster.
Mm-hmm. So does everyone know what they are now, or no?
Only Asari and Greylaw. You do not know exactly what your strain is yet. But if you like, you can kind of experiment to try and figure it out.
Yeah, I'll experiment.
Okay.
Did Avaven learn his strain yet?
Nope.
They're the only
Is
two
there
that-
any indication from him having bit someone?
Other than the fact that you got control over them when Asari didn't, no. But that could mean literally any strain that isn't Asari's.
Okay, so there's nothing unique about his control.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't see any way he can figure it out, so.
All right. Flower and Fall, you just want to experiment?
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
I guess he can try to experiment, but I have no idea what he would do.
I mean, you could try use powers or try to do something with like. I'm assuming like manipulation, telekinesis, kind of like with arrows. Yeah,
Animal control.
true.
All right, so Flower and Fall, if you're gonna try and figure it out, roll me. Your stats for this are not great, admittedly. Roll me 2d10. And Vaben, being a little better in that department, you are going to roll me. Roll me 3d10. A little bit better.
3d10. Gotcha. So it's gonna
while
be a
the-
6 and 2 3s.
Okay, 6 and 2 3s. Got it? Flower and Fall?
A 10 and a 4.
Okay.
So one success on each.
Mm-hmm. As each of you, as everyone starts setting up to just like whittle away the time, you both just kind of start like curiously experimenting with your capabilities. Not quite being super sure what exactly to do, but like just seeing seeing what you're capable of, so to speak. And both of you discover that you possess a. You do not figure out exactly what strain you are, as this is something that a lot of strains can do. But I will say you figure out one of your abilities. with a single success. Both of you realize that you possess the dominate ability. What that allows you to do, if I can pull it up, sorry. What dominate allows you to do is through eye contact, you can establish mind control even on somebody who's not bitten.
We do get full control whenever we do bite, unlike a sorry.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, through the biting, you just control them forever. But Flowerfall and Avaben, you both have the ability to, even with an uninfected person, as long as you can look them directly in the eyes and maintain eye contact the whole time, you will maintain control of them, even if they're not infected, as long as your eye contact remains unbroken. And Greylog, as Avaben and Flowerfall are getting used to that new ability, you, with a, I imagine, broad, mischievous smile on your face, approach your spawn and demand tithes from them. And they start to empty their various coin purses and pockets, and in the end, you are left with 882 gold.
Nice.
And whenever you ask for something special or significant, the captain of the crew kind of gives you a bow, and I'm afraid I possess very little in the way of something that would satisfy someone of your stature. But while it means little to you, I would be happy to part with. And he starts to kind of cautiously toy with, you can see his beard is braided by a single bead in the center. And it's kind of braided up along with his long hair. And as he kind of pulls at the bead, he gives you a nod, and this is the token that indicates my authority in the Brethren of the Coast. It has no value on its own, but among our kin, it is quite valuable.
He will
Lord.
accept it.
Oh no.
He pulls the bead from his beard and drops it into your hand.
Well done.
I hope it is acceptable, Master.
Extremely.
Greylog, you may add 882 gold and a bead that indicates Brother Scorpio's place in the Brethren of the Coast to your inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
You all while away the time, and eventually, more just through the sound of the barricade being removed, do you have an immediate indication that the sun is beginning to rise. Each of you, or rather Flowerfall and Paul, because you were the only ones who did not feed the previous night, you both gain 1 point of hunger. Flowerfall, you don't have to worry about it too much yet. I'll basically just set aside one of your D10s, which will be your blood dice, and if you roll a 10 or a 1 with that, you basically mention that separately from whether it's a 5 or higher, because if you get a crit that involves a blood dice, as you saw with Greylog, things can get messy. So Paul, Flowerfall, you both take a hunger point. The rest of you, however, fed, so you are satiated. And the ship is open to you. However, I will point out that, as mentioned, none of your powers apply other than your control over your spawn is continuous, but basically you can no longer actively use your vampiric abilities during the day.
Unless you're
I thought Greylog's worked during the day because of his stream.
I believe so. Let me double check.
That can kind of work during the day.
you have that one. Yes, you uniquely resist sunlight. So you can still use your powers, but everyone else you are unable to use your abilities for now. However, of course, the fights take place at night, so you don't have to worry that much there. Is there anything you guys would like to do during the day as the sun rises over
Honestly,
London?
Avaben's content with what he's achieved so far. He's just ready to wait until we can show what we've done.
Okay. Anyone else?
I do want to see if I can't go find the three sisters.
Okay.
Maybe you
Anyone
can
else?
show them how successful you were.
Well,
Okay.
amongst other things.
In that case, Greylog, if you're the only one who has anything immediately noteworthy that you want to do, roll me 4d10. This is an investigation and streetwise check.
Streetwise.
Yeah, basically there's a...
Streetwise up in this bitch.
Yeah, he has 3 points of investigation and 1 point of streetwise, so...
So 2 succeed, 2 fail.
Okay. Greylog, you excuse yourself from the locker room once the door is unlocked to just wander the ship looking for the Terrafang triplets, but you do not fret too much beyond that. The rest of you just sit in the locker room quietly alongside the infected and vampires, waiting for the night to return. You're getting to experience a day in the life of a vampire. However, Greylog, as you wander the ship, you do catch glimpses of some of the Major League fighters. However, given that they have no indication of whether you're infected or not, they kind of give you a wide berth. But
Well,
as you search...
they do, actually. He's covered in blood.
Well, bear in mind, you're among pirates. That's not too unusual.
True.
But as you search the ship top to bottom, you can't find a sign of the Terrafang triplets anywhere.
In that case, he knows exactly where they're at. He also wants to go check the board to see who they're going up against.
All right. Greylog, as you, about mid-afternoon, realize you cannot find any sign of the Terrafang triplets. You kind of grimace as, yeah, you suspect you know exactly where they are. And as you head back to the lower decks to check the arenas, you see that one of the fights being advertised is the Divine Five, ranked 11, are going up against the Scorpio Sailors, ranked 16.
So the ones he has control over.
Yep.
Oh, he's gonna have fun with this.
So all he has to do is just have them surrender and we win.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but where's the
it's like-
fun in
Yeah,
that?
it's like I already could tell that's not his plan.
Yeah, no,
Well,
he's
yeah.
Greylog's got to draw it out.
Oh,
And I'm sure Greylog's going to feel very smart about all this whenever he realizes that once the match is over, they'll remember everything he did to them, and they have a literal fleet of pirates to get revenge on him with.
Yeah, maybe I might have to try to convince him to not do anything too much. It's like they're already not gonna be happy about losing.
Wow.
Let's not disrespect them on top of everything.
Oh,
Yeah, literal
except
pirate nobility.
there's one small thing He's not in charge anymore. I have the bead. I'm in charge.
Until this changes.
Yeah, because you already know that pirates typically take charge in Nassau through killing the previous holder of the title.
Is it required?
It's not required, but it's definitely an option.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Your funeral.
Are we, like-
I like how the DM is saying even. It's like,
Even the
Oh,
DM,
okay.
the DM is literally trying to tell you.
Well, no, because bear in mind, like normally I would be more subtle, but Austin, like you know
Yeah.
D&D and tabletop games. Give it to me straight. What do you fancy the chances of a level 8 druid against a army of pirates, one of whom is clearly powerful enough to keep his title against everyone who's tried to kill him to take it before?
It depends on the build, but I don't, it's great.
Not to mention, he needs to consider the people around him could get caught up in that shit too.
I mean, that's up to him.
Oh.
It won't be too bad. He was gonna have him do like a little ballet dance, but
We're already. I think Raven's still gonna at least talk to him.
Okay.
If he sees him about to
Maybe-
do something.
It'll be an interesting conversation.
All right. Greylog, are you satisfied with everything in your search of the ship?
yeah, as satisfied as he's gonna be.
All right. Greylog, you work your way back to the minor league locker room. It's about late afternoon at this point, and all of you just sitting quietly in the locker room and waiting, hear the door open as Greylog returns.
They got the triplets.
Who
Damn.
got who?
Oh, you don't know, do you? So all the losing teams so far have been captured and put under some sort of paralysis of some kind by the captain and Nitro.
The samurai all nod.
Upon hearing this, Paul will get up.
Avaben in the hammock above you. Paul, who has been basically motionless since
Iconic.
since Asari mentioned that vampires can fly into a blood rage at little provocation, suddenly stands up on hearing this.
Oh shit. Let's not do anything hasty.
Well, can't promise that, but
Can we at least get what we came here for before we do anything crazy? There'll be
I
plenty of
mean,
time for it once we do.
That depends on if there is time.
Yeah, half of them look nearly dead by this point. They're not
But if
getting
they
the
wanted them
nutrition.
dead, they'd be dead. These are pirates we're talking about here.
That is fair. Yeah, Austin, you may need to turn your mic up a little bit. You're a little quiet on the stream.
Oh, I am.
The bomb squad kind of looking curious, and the swarm storm looks kind of agitated. That is true. Imamu is many things, but a pirate nonetheless. More than likely, it is as Avaben says, if they wanted the previous teams dead, they would simply do so. Yeah, if you believe all the stories, they just kill them and bury them in the walls.
Well, are all the other pirates fine with that?
Well, I mean, it's just rumors. Nobody thinks they actually do it. People say all kinds of crap about pirates. People say that Blackbeard lights his beard on fire.
Come on, I'm sure he did it at least once.
Well, technically, he just took cannon fuses, tied them to his beard, and then lit those. But, I mean, and he kind of shrugs. People say all kinds of things about pirates. It's how we stay alive.
Yeah.
So that there might be some actual truth to it, though.
Yeah, that does change things a little bit.
It just doesn't make any sense for them to pretty much paralyze them and keep them out of the way. Like, what would be the point?
Well, we have a lot of time to figure it out.
Hmm. We will just have to be cautious. More than likely, and he turns to all of the spawn you guys just created. One of our victims will be next.
I guess if any of our teams lose, you should watch your back.
Understood. Yeah, got it. We'll be careful.
I mean, you'd have to wonder if they if the Scorpio crew loses, would he really do that to one of the brethren?
It's hard to say. Can't exactly make moral judgments on somebody who's paralyzing fighters and keeping them in the walls of a ship. Yeah, that.
but to be fair, a mercenary or two disappearing, that happens every day. One of the
Yeah, people.
head honchos of pirates disappears on this ship. I'm pretty sure that is going to draw attention.
Yeah. Everyone kind of takes on like a somewhat somber look. Never exactly simple, is it?
No.
From what I've heard from some other pirates, I'd imagine if you wanted to do something about it, you could probably tell your captain about it and he'll go do something.
That's true, but. And he kind of rubs at the back of his neck. I don't know. I don't even know if he'd believe me, and even if he did, what's he supposed to do about it? March up to the captain of Plundon in the middle of the Doomspell tournament? Kill the man who's supposed to be protecting the Spear of Ares? Then what happens?
Well, I'd hope he would be a little more diplomatic than that, but I guess he is a pirate.
Well, for one, we have proof that about everything that's going on. So we could
Do
just
you?
provide that to everything. Well, to
What
everyone,
proof do you have?
Well, even though they're paralyzed, they're still conscious. They can answer questions. And they all said that both the captain and Nitro are the ones that did it to him.
Interesting. Well, I guess if we're gonna do anything, we'll need evidence. They have the ability to bring someone to them or some form of proof.
What's exactly
So-
wrong with them?
If I remember correctly, that they were unable to move except for their eyes.
Yeah, they could blink and breathe, but they couldn't, like, physically move beyond that. And as far as you guys can tell, it doesn't appear to be an obvious poison. It appears to potentially be something magical in nature.
I
Were they
have a
specifically told it was
theory.
something divine?
Yes, there was, the victims did claim that it was something divine in nature.
Divine, you say?
I have a
They say
theory.
which god?
I'm starting to wonder if it's not a god. Remember about the Seven Wonders of Plundon, with two of them being the captain and Nitro. For one, they've been alive quite a while. Are they using pretty much those who lose? Are they siphoning away their life to fuel their own?
We'll need to know more about it before we can say anything for certain.
If we make a move,
for all we know, they could be some kind of vampire themselves, sucking them dry.
If we make a move on the captain too soon, we'll be at the mercy of the champion, the major league, and potentially the other members of the Brethren, on a ship surrounded by hostile pirates. And if we try to go to the other Brethren about it without proof, word's probably going to reach the captain one way or the other, and we're in the exact same boat. Metaphorical boat. I mean, I guess we are technically on the same literal boat, too, but, like, you guys get what I mean.
Isn't there a difference between a boat and a ship?
Well, technically, yes, but... and he starts to ramble a little bit, but the bomb squad kind of cuts him off. The point is, you're all right. Much as we don't like it, we are currently in a position where we do not have the information and resources to act immediately. We've guaranteed that...
Spear, that'll be a good assurance plan.
Aye.
If there isn't a major league and champion left.
Can't promise. I will fair warn y'all. Can't promise I'll wait that long.
Well, you're going to have to.
I mean, have to or not, I can't promise that.
I understand, it's... and he seems like he's trying to find a polite way to say it, but the bomb squad kind of interjects. Do not censor yourself, child. It feels like shit. Having to sit and wait, knowing that our competitors they were, but we did share a room, are experiencing unimaginable suffering, and we have no choice but to wait. Or potentially die and accomplish nothing.
I mean,
Yeah, that wouldn't work very well for anybody.
The only reason I haven't gone yet is because I don't know if I have the power to do anything.
You should consider this. If you take your shot and miss, then you will have done them no good. But if you take your time and pick the right moment, you'll be able to bring it all down in one swoop.
You can also say if you take your shot too late, well, as I just said,
Again,
too late.
if they wanted them dead,
Well,
if they wanted them dead, they'd be dead. Plain and simple.
I mean, if they wanted them dead, yes, but who knows if they want them dead now or later.
That's fair. We have no idea what they're even after here. I mean, what could they possibly have to gain? If the captain and Nitro are really involved, I mean, they're one of the most powerful pirates in the world. They have a whole crew, fleets of pirates at their command, and not to mention some of the best fighters in the world who probably would listen if he asked us to do something for him. What does he have to gain from doing this that he couldn't just get from us directly? What is he waiting for?
Well, unless I'm right, and he is using them for their life essence.
We don't know that for certain. We need to know more so we know what kind of time frame we're working with.
The Swarm Storm kind of considers for a while, but then kind of suddenly perks up. Oh, go on, Evan.
I feel like there might be a lot of attention on us. We're the fighters in this competition. If any of you maybe know someone outside the competition who's particularly good at digging things up, that would probably be helpful.
We'll give it some thought. And I'll say, yeah, at this point, the Swarm Storm perks up, and a thought occurs. And he looks up to you, Paul, on the top hammock, and the twins across from you. From what I've heard you guys talking about, I'm not like eavesdropping or anything, but Mr. Avaben, you said you were from Sherwood, right?
Yes.
Are you guys all from that area? Perugia, I mean.
Well, I believe Asari is from Britannia.
he kind of you can see him kind of tilt his head and just that doesn't really help narrow it down. Point is, you guys are all having to get used to fighting in new ways that you're not used to. Maybe this is kind of a long shot, but I'm guessing you guys are pretty good at these new rules that we're not used to. Maybe if we wait long enough until the rules you guys are used to comes back around, maybe then you can do something. You'll be more in your element, you know?
True, but some part of me tells me that he'll be saving that gem for last. And again, we'll run into the problem of we don't know how long we have.
Yeah,
At the end
true.
of the day, we need to know more so we know what kind of time frame we're on, if any.
I'll have to be careful with who I ask, but I'll see if maybe I can't ask some of the crew. I'm worried if I tell the captain or any of my friends that they'll just take it right up to Imamu directly, and you can see while he's wearing a full body thing, so you can't
Not
see
a
his face.
confrontation you want to see.
It's not really that I'm worried about. It's more I don't want to be unable to move. I really like being able to move, Mr. Avaben.
Fair enough. I guess if you know somebody you can trust to be quiet, at least in situations where it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, I can think of a few crew members I can spread the word to. I'll just have to make sure they keep it quiet from the captain.
Especially ones who might be good at gathering information.
And in case their memories are a touch affected by what we've done to them, and he nods to you guys' vampire spawn who are all just staring at you from their hammocks. I'll pass word among the other fighters. I'll be cautious with who I share it with, obviously, but speaking of, and he looks to you, Asari. Whatever mysterious timetable we're working on that we can't see, it may have moved up due to the events of last night. I may not have known him long, but Nitro does not strike me as a fool. And if he is truly involved, no doubt the captain now knows that you and the Seven Samurai were sneaking out at night. And I imagine he suspects what you found.
Well, I guess to be fair, he doesn't necessarily know if they shared it with us.
Well,
What you think?
he knows that we snuck out, but I may or may not have thrown a little halfling asshole stalker dude under the bus, theoretically speaking.
No. Oh, fuck.
Oh.
Well-
That's quite unfortunate. I liked him.
Well, the survival of the fittest, you know?
Well,
I
think
don't
I'm-
imagine it will be hard for
when the
him to
fight
wriggle out of
comes.
something.
Besides, he hasn't been caught. I just gave Nitro advice on how to catch him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess that does give me something to say to the captain. I'm gonna go ask him about the theoretical situation of if every other fighter has been turned, but also try to plant an idea that maybe make him think that you didn't tell us anything about what you saw.
I don't know if he would be completely forthright, though.
No, I'm not going to ask him about it. I'm going to simply talk to him about one thing while trying to convince him that I don't know anything.
Very
Because
clever.
as it stands,
But
he may
isn't-
assume that you told us everything.
Well, the best way to convince him that you don't know anything is to, not tell him anything.
That's why I'm not
Yeah,
going
I
to
mean,
tell him
it
anything.
kind of. Well, it kind of feels like going to him
That's why I'm
and
going
trying to
ask
convince
him.
him.
That's why I'm going to ask him a question.
Yeah, I've seen Mr. Vaben hang out at his office before. It's not like it'd be anything unusual for him. He may be on edge if he's really, keeping people in the walls and all that, but if Vaben just keeps doing what he's always been doing and acts like nothing's wrong, then, well, and he kind of pauses, but the bomb squad pipes up. Paranoia is unpredictable. And granted, this is just our guess, but we would rather the man who holds our fellow competitor's life in his claws be as at ease as possible. If we start avoiding him, that's going to stand out more than if we just keep doing what we've been doing as if we know nothing. Perhaps he'll even convince himself that you didn't see anything at all, and we're perhaps just sneaking out to the kitchens.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go have my regular chat with the captain.
By all means, give him our regards.
Oh, of course. I guess if Evan will make his way to the captain's place thing. Office.
All right. Does anyone wish to accompany him? Okay. Also, yeah, if you need to head off early, Grilly, that's fine. All right.
But yeah,
Vaben?
he's not really doing much, so.
Okay.
I guess if we do get to the fight this time, we can assume that Greylog will have the ones he controls,
Yeah, he
He'll
said he was going to have them do a little ballet dance, but then surrender.
Nah, he won't do that. He'll just have them lay down their lay down their weapons, and just surrender.
Okay.
The last thing he needs is pirates coming after him and everyone else. More so than now.
Okay.
But I'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
No worries. Hope you had fun.
Oh, I did.
Good.
Alright, I guess we'll continue.
Yeah. Vaben, you make your way out of the locker room and start making your way down to the captain's quarters once again. And with a very kind of cautious but trying to be casual, you hear his voice pipe up. Come on in.
Maybe we'll come in.
You notice that this time the locks are not done up, as Imami was currently digging through some of the drawers and cabinets around his quarters. And as you enter and the door shuts behind you, he kind of glances over his shoulder and sees you, and his beak breaks out in a wide smile. Vaben, Mr. Aglatha, what can I do for you?
I just thought I'd stop by for my usual chat.
Well, glad that I can be good company. Here, let me. And you see.
Hope you don't mind. I've been a little busy looking down at the blood on him.
He kind of raises an eyebrow and smirks, and glad to see that you've embraced the spirit of competition. And you can see that what he's been searching around for is the kind of colorful looking robe that he starts putting on. And you can see he's not wearing his usual kind of ringmaster costume that he wears whenever he's doing the announcements. And he kind of leans back in his chair. It seems like he's just wearing this to be comfortable before the arena. I know you're not exactly in the business in your current state of food and drink, but can I offer you something? Wine, perhaps?
Sure, why not?
Why not? And he smiles and starts pouring you some wine. And as he slides the wine across the table to you, he gives you a smile and, well, anything in particular you'd like to discuss?
Well, I did want to ask, what would hypothetically happen if all of the competitors that we could be up against suddenly We're convinced not to participate.
Well, if that being the case, theoretically, of course, and he gives you a wink, then you would simply start the fight as normal, but if, in theory, you were to have infected everyone, then those you infected would be loyal to you, and you could simply command them to not fight. That, combined with the mess you've made, theoretically, and he kind of slides you a napkin, but noticeably doesn't make any move to imply you should use it, then you win by default. I hear you're going up against the Scorpio sailors today. That should be an interesting fight to watch. Unless, of course, this theoretical happens to take precedent. And he kind of sips at his wine and stares at you.
Yeah, that was to... I hope he wouldn't take it too personally. Someone mentioned to me that he's actually one of the big shots.
Indeed he is. Wraith Blackheart, Brother Scorpio, one of the members of the Brethren of the Coast. Indeed. There wasn't any rule that he couldn't participate directly, so the Lord of the West Sea decided to directly insert himself. I put him in the minor league to assure that there would be no favoritism, and he's been a reliable fighter thus far, he and that little prodigy of his.
Yeah, that's what I hear. If something like what I talked about were to happen, I hope he wouldn't take it too personally.
He knew the risks as soon as I told him the rules. And I made it quite clear when he approached me that I would show no favoritism if he were to get unlucky. Which he acquiesced to. And he kind of sips at his wine thoughtfully, but after a bit of consideration. Although, well, this would be ridiculous, but I suppose the only thing that might perhaps get him to take things a little more personally than just some friendly competition would be if someone were to take advantage of the control that the theoretical person who infected him now has in the theoretical. And he kind of spins around on his chair to face away from you, but still continues to talk. But, as you said, purely theoretical.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see how it goes.
Indeed we will. And as he kind of leans back, he kind of sighs.
I wanted to ask is,
oh, shoot.
Have you ever had two competing teams, like, ever make plans together before?
Well, truth be told, this is the first time I've personally hosted this tournament, but in the past, it's happened once or twice. Typically, though, it's...
alliances until they have to face each other.
Indeed. Increases the odds of victory, after all. If you can make it through the minor league, then... well, there you go. It's typically the major league that doesn't see a lot in the way of camaraderie. Once you've made it to the major league, your allies are growing thin. At most, an alliance would only last you a week.
Yeah. I'm sure it'd be quite impressive if it did happen.
Indeed. With the kind of audiences we're going for, alliances tend to be popular, not necessarily out of any belief in friendship, but you have to admit, with alliances, sometimes the most entertaining part is exactly how they fall apart.
I'm sure pirates know too well.
Indeed they do. We can't stand each other at the best of times, but we have mutual gain to be had from working together.
So I've heard.
You've heard correctly. And he kind of sighs and leans back in his chair. Are you enjoying the competition so far?
It's interesting. I think I would have preferred to use the skills I've used all my life, but it's been interesting.
I do apologize.
Are you saving? Out of curiosity, is that going to be the grand finale? The champion and the contender get to use their full strength.
Not quite. One of the Adventure Bureau's most recent designs has really begun to take the world by storm since its inception, and I'm nothing if not a modern thinker. That's what I'm saving for the grand finale. All of this is just paying credit to our forebears.
So
And he
those
kind of starts
rounds
to...
Leading up to it, acknowledge the past, and the last one will look to the future.
Indeed. And you can see he kind of starts to kind of thoughtfully run a thumb over the rim of his wine glass. And I know it may not be your preference, but I do hope you at least don't forget it. I've always been, if I may be quite honest with you, quite concerned about the possibility of simply being forgotten. Just another captain of Plundon, and my name is soon scrubbed from history.
I'm sure this being such a large ship, if nothing else, being one of its captains will probably get you at least a good mention.
You'd think that, but
I can't imagine there'll be any ships bigger than this at any point.
he kind of leans back and looks out the window, and you find your gaze kind of drawn to it as the afternoon sun begins to set over the sea. The way of life that we've enjoyed on this ship is dying, Avaben. Soon there will be nobody left to remember me, remember any of us. When I was young, my mother, she was an astronomer, you see, in Alios. She told me about supernovas. Do you know what a supernova is, Avaben?
I would imagine he doesn't.
Nah, your people weren't exactly astronomers.
No, not exactly. It sounds super.
Quite. Tell me, Avaben, whenever you look up at the night sky, do you ever think about how you may not even notice if one of those many stars that dot the sky were to suddenly be gone one day? Truthfully, do you think you'd notice? A single star in a sea of thousands.
I'd imagine I wouldn't.
Exactly. My mother told me that sometimes the stars that I thought were as permanent a fixture in the night sky as my own family, there always comes a day when a star dies, like all life. She told me a little bit about the science behind it, but I've never exactly been a scientist.
I guess it's a logical conclusion that all things must end.
Yes, but...
Or even the universe itself would probably end at some point.
True, but I'll admit as a child I found it rather an intimidating thought. No, it was terrifying. The idea that I could be staring at the night sky, and before my very eyes a star could die, and I would never know. There were simply too many stars in the sky for me to notice any single one. And even if I did never take my eyes off of a great star in the sky, eventually the sun will rise and hide them from me. And even if I found a star again the next night, could I ever be certain it was the same one?
I guess I could see how that could drive a kid crazy thinking about it.
My father thought the same. That's where he sent me to train with the monks. Said that I could find peace and happiness in self-expression. That's why I'm a bit colorful these days. And it brought me a sense of peace, being able to entertain others. That's why I take such pride in my work here on Plundon. I may be a pirate, but I'm first and foremost an entertainer. I find that great inventors and warriors and captains on the high seas, eventually they'll be forgotten, but an entertainer, well, we all need to smile, don't we?
I guess that's true. I guess everyone has their way they'll leave their mark on the world.
We do. What about you, Avaben? Do you have any sort of grand ideas of what sort of legacy you're going to leave behind when your time comes?
Do the Sherwood Elves have any sayings that might pertain to something like that?
Sherwood Elves have always been of the mind that, given that they are elves, legacy is never exactly on the forefront of their minds, but what few do concern themselves with it, typically hunters and fighters who are at the greatest risk of potentially dying someday, their main thought is that the best legacy you can leave is a sort of tangible, natural one. Plant a tree, feed your family. The sort of things that people do every day, but will leave some sort of physical, natural mark on the world. Even in death, your body will feed the worms, the scavengers, and the trees. So true, for a Sherwood Elf at least, you are truly never dead. Your spirit and legacy live on in the effect that your life and even your death has on the world around you.
Gotcha. So maybe like, well, the elves that raised me in Sherwood, we believed that legacies are based in the natural world. Whether that be planting a tree or the progeny that you keep alive another day. Even when you die, you become part of the cycle. It's
As
almost
do we
a
all.
natural. It's basically almost a natural progression that there will be something to leave behind.
He kind of nods, still not looking at you, but just kind of staring out the window. A beautiful thought. But, as I said, I eventually found my peace with it. Entertaining is my legacy. That's why I don't want this tournament to just be another show of everyone bashing each other's brains in. I want it to be educational. Maybe some of these thieves and scoundrels will eventually walk away having learned something, even if they don't use it for the most, shall we say, moral of reasons.
To be honest, though, half of them are probably drunk when they're watching this.
True, but... And he kind of thinks for a moment before giving a shrug. I suppose there's, like your people believe, there's nothing I can do but wait and find out. I suppose someday I'll find out what kind of legacy I'm going to leave. I can just hope that the work I'm doing here doesn't get forgotten too quickly.
Maybe so.
But listen to me ramble. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
I guess I just ask, is there any goings on the ship?
Not for some time. Thankfully, that business in Arena 1 got taken care of, and...
You think
well,
you could fill me in a little bit more on what happened there?
He kind of pauses in consideration. Avaben, roll me 6 d10s.
Holy shit. I don't even have 60 tens.
Yeah, you have, because if you're curious, you have 5 points into manipulation and 1 point into charisma.
Okay, so we got a 6.
So 1 success,
8,
1
a
success,
6,
success.
a 10, and then 2 more. A 5 and a 7.
All right, so I think, yeah, literally all of those succeed.
Damn.
Uh, I admit I didn't want to tell you specifically this. You don't strike me as the sort of man to give too much thought to these things, for whatever that says about you, but I just thought it might be better for you to keep it away. But I can tell it's eating away at your mind, so perhaps you deserve to know. There was something I hadn't counted on whenever we had that battle. The very first round, you remember?
Was it our fight in the first round?
I'm afraid so. And he pauses for a while before finally speaking up again. The halfling and the Leon Kira woman. You may have noticed that the rest of the fighters were not present at the ceremony.
Did they die?
I'm afraid so. I hadn't realized it, but whenever the Dragon Slayers had their crusades, resurrection magic was a fickle thing. We hadn't quite learned then how to make sure they come back every time.
Even your healers were affected by the cannonball?
Not my healers, but the bodies were. And by the time we realized our mistake, it was too late. Their deaths were permanent, and we couldn't bring them back.
I'm guessing if you had known that, you might have maybe suggested the first round not be to the death.
Of course. I didn't want this to happen. I've gone through so much work to ensure that everyone makes it out of this fight safely. All the previous captains, their fighters weren't so lucky. I wanted this time to be different.
I'm going to say, not to come off in a wrong way, but you are a pirate. I can't imagine this is the first time your actions have led to the death of others.
Certainly not, but I told you, I consider myself an entertainer first, and a pirate second. I have a position of authority in Nassau, to be certain, but and he's silent for a good moment before taking a swig from his wine, and I don't blame you or your team. The fault lies purely with me. I simply didn't want to tell you and give you a sense of misplaced guilt. You did exactly what I told you to do, and it was due to my error that their lives were sadly lost. I compensated the two survivors handsomely for their loss and told them the truth.
Well, isn't it one of the mysteries of Plundon that something always goes wrong during one of these tournaments?
Indeed. Most of it is simply mere rumor mongering, but I'm starting to get concerned that the brethren are actually starting to believe it. The moment I
approach you about something.
They've been having meetings during the night. That's part of the reason I request that you all stay in your locker rooms. Night is whenever the brethren gets together to have their meetings. And, well, I couldn't simply tell them nothing. I told them the truth.
Maybe I feel like you could have relaxed that rule for this challenge. I literally have to sit there all day doing nothing.
I apologize. But if it gives you any sense of credence on the matter, he kind of smiles and tilts his head. Let's just say it would be a hard sell. Come, pirates of the world, come to my ship where Nosferatu stalk the halls and thirst for blood.
I mean, maybe you could have just restricted us to a specific deck.
Ah, yes, because mercenaries and pirates are excellent at following the rules, especially when they're very specific and clear. And he kind of gives you a wink.
I mean, that would still be true of the current situation.
Very true, but it lessens the odds and makes the brethren feel more comfortable. And I am nothing else if not a gracious host. The Star Strikers, what's left of them, decided to leave after I gave them the news. I compensated them for my personal coffers and wished them all the best. It's my
Yeah.
fault that their comrades were lost, and I made sure to be very clear that you were not to be blamed for it.
Well, I appreciate that. I had been wondering where they had went.
Indeed, most fighters tend not to stick around. They all say that they want to watch the fights, but it can take a toll on someone to watch a competition that you've been forbidden from competing further in, watching your competitors get closer and closer to the grand prize. Most simply choose to leave.
I honestly thought those Kappas were quite serious about their intent to stay.
Indeed, but whenever they made it clear that their main motivation was to simply spread the word of their services as mercenaries, I told them that I would be willing to personally hire them, and they took the job. They're working down in the engine rooms now. I know it's not exactly glamorous fights in the arena, but I don't have much need for a boarding party just yet. But I told them that they would be the first I call in the event that their services are required.
Oh. I feel like the only way that you could need that kind of services would be if that guy hunting on the pirates showed up.
He's actually kind of quiet at this before speaking up again in a kind of surprisingly somber tone. There's a reason I'm currently in the market.
You suspect he might try something.
Not now. He would be quite the fool to try now. But when this is all over, I suspect with the artifact out of my hands and the world's greatest fighters scattered back into the wind, I suspect Plundon is probably going to be one of his targets. And I am intending to do everything I can during this tournament to ensure that Plundon's legacy survives.
I guess it would be kind of a particularly symbolic value.
It would. But I don't
Like I
intend to
heard-
let it go without a fight.
I think I once heard a saying. I think I heard somebody say a saying around here that as long as Plundon sails, pirates sail.
Indeed.
Something to that extent.
We're the only pirate port in the world that can't be found except by those who already know where it is. And with our resources, even a fleet from Britannia would struggle to simply blast us out of the waters, as it were. It has its limitations, but it's one of the only reliable options we have, I'm afraid.
Yes,
But
there is one other way to know where it is. Pay off someone who does know where it is.
indeed. There's a
And from what
reason
I
I'm
understand,
preparing for the
pirates-
worst.
And from what I understand, pirates aren't exactly the most loyal types.
That, I'm afraid, I cannot argue with.
I'm sure if you throw enough money in their face, they'll tell you anything you want to know.
Quite. But I can trust in myself, I can trust in Nitro, and I can trust in my crew. That much, I can't ask for anything more. As long as we stay on the move and I prepare for an eventual assault from the pirate hunters, I'm confident that, at least for now, I will be able to maintain my grip on this ship. At least for now.
Sounds like this ship is only second to Nassau in importance to the pirates.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but the brethren themselves certainly believe it. And I don't want to disappoint them.
You wouldn't go that far into saying that it's second to Nassau?
Oh no, I'm simply a ship that accepts everyone regardless of what their flag may be. Nassau, they have dreams and ambitions. Certainly not united ones, you understand. But dreams and ambitions nonetheless. London, we're just always on the move.
Just sailing along.
Indeed. We aren't a society like Nassau is. We're simply a ship that's strong enough to keep outsiders out and willing to let insiders in. That's all. I would consider myself no more or less important than a single ship among any of their fleets. But they consider me and my ship to be invaluable to them in the current state of affairs, and I don't intend to throw that. And he kind of struggles to find the word. You get the impression that the wine is starting to get to him. Well, whatever the word may be. I don't consider myself all that important in the grand scheme of things.
Well, I guess the only people who do consider themselves important are the arrogant.
Exactly. I try to keep myself humble. The monks taught me that, in truth. Humility. I may not dress it, but I try to stay humble. I'm content simply being the captain of London. I want my legacy to be one I earn, not one that is simply handed to me because of others' perceptions.
Understandable.
If I just wanted to coast on someone else's coattails, I would have stayed with my mother.
There any other issues on the ship?
At the present moment, thankfully, no. Everything's running smoothly, and while the brethren certainly made it clear to me that they would not easily forget my mistake in the first round, the other rounds have been going smoothly, and for that they are grateful. Mistakes made on my part give them a sense of insecurity, makes them feel unsafe to meet on my ship, and I do not intend to let that be a recurring issue. But for the moment, the meetings are going well. Not exactly civil, but well. Although I'm starting to get concerned that the amount of rumor mongering the fighters are doing is beginning to take its toll on my reputation.
Interesting. Any details I can know about?
Most of it's just boring politics among the salty sea dogs that sail the sea, but suffice it to say, all these whispers about the wonders of London, even the brethren are starting to suspect they're true. Unbelievable. But sailors have always been a superstitious lot.
Yeah, but they're like a thing that they used to not take women onto ships
Some still don't.
because they believe it's bad luck or something.
Indeed. See a bird on your ship, see a woman on your ship so much as sails at a crooked angle, everyone starts screaming, bad luck!
If a black cat crosses your path.
Break a mirror, go under a ladder, the list is endless. The superstitious are seldom satisfied. But I managed to talk them down, convince them that it really is just rumor mongering. You ever had to deal with that? Try to convince someone that you're not as powerful as they're making you out to be? Most people tend to do the opposite.
I spend a lot of time trying to convince people I'm not as bad as I am.
Huh. Well,
Tends
perhaps
to
you're
make
actually
a
one of the
case.
few.
Does he currently look like a dark elf?
Yes, your appearances are normal, it's just the vampire thing.
As you can imagine, with someone like me, amongst the people I was amongst.
He gives you a kind of sympathetic nod, and indeed,
People like to make assumptions about people like me.
that they do. I know how you feel. Perhaps not as extremely. At the very least, I was accepted by my family. by the monastery and by my crew, but, well, clearly I can't sail far enough to escape from what I am, what others say about me.
Well, I'm sure it's just the nature of things with this tournament going on.
Yeah, between that and our foes on the outside, the pirates are jumpy, they're scared, easily spooked by a stray shadow. But with some effort, I've managed to, at least for now, convince them that they are really just rumors.
I hope that it'll stay that way.
We can only hope. But if you start seeing people in the walls, please do feel free to inform me. It'd be news to me, if nothing else.
It knows me. There's things that the former captain didn't tell you about.
I'm starting to suspect that that might be the case. Hear the rumors enough times, even you start to believe them.
Maybe he did hide his enemies in the walls.
And here I thought I searched this ship top to bottom when the tournament started. And he kind of gives a shrug and...
The previous captain.
Come again?
Who was the previous captain?
Well, he kind of pauses for a moment and...
I assume you would have talked to the man you took over their ship from.
Oh, I talk to them every day. It was Nitro.
He stepped down?
Indeed. His sister was the captain before him, and she sadly passed away, and the title fell to him. But he wasn't exactly eager to pick up his sibling's legacy. The man had to grieve, and that's when I showed up. I was a sailor learning the trade, and he said that as long as he could keep an eye on me to help run things, that he would let me take his place as captain, give the man time to mourn in peace down in the engine rooms.
Well, I guess on the bright side, that means you have a pretty solid contingency plan should anything happen to you.
Well, I'm hoping to be captain of this ship for a good long time, Abaven, but yes.
Yeah, it does seem like you are a very long-lived. What's he, a Kappa?
Yeah, Kappa.
Because I think it was noted that he's lived a lot.
No, yeah, that's one of the wonders, is that he should be decrepit at this point, if not dead.
It seems like you are a quite well-lived, or quite long-lived Kappa.
Well, living among monks will do that to you. They taught me spiritual wellness and how to keep my body in peak physical condition. And that's all I needed. It's amazing what healthy living will do, but if you believe all these grog-soaked meat lovers, they'd think that just because I live to see my 50s, that I'm suddenly this ancient lich feeding on the souls of the damned.
Yeah, I guess that's how it is for species like yours. Elves don't really have problems like that.
Very true. I envy it, personally.
Anyway, Matthew, do elves get old?
They don't get old in the traditional sense. Most say that elves, whenever they reach essentially the point of elderly, they basically just age gracefully into the, like, you know how, like, whenever sometimes you'll see an old person and you're like, they're obviously very old, but, like, it only serves to make them, like, almost prettier. Like, you know, like their hair is more like a silvery than a gray, and they're still very handsome or pretty.
So elves just age like fine wine.
Yeah, no, they age like fine wine. Elves, basically, an elf would have to be in awful health to age into like a legitimate, like decrepit elderly person. Most elves tend to age very gracefully.
Even the elves that do live long enough to get some age on them still are quite spry.
Well, I sadly am not an elf, and unless I want to take a dose of my own powder, it's going to stay that way. But
You would have to ask, did any of them tempt you?
a few did. There's one dose I have planned whenever Let's be quite honest with each other. Whenever you make it to the Major League, you're a talented fighter, you and your friends. A cohesive unit of talented fighters.
Well, you did say. Well, you did tell us that winning isn't everything.
Very true, but you know how to put a flair on it that makes it appealing to watch. The dose that tempted me, I'm saving for the Major League. And I'll admit, almost every day I wonder if perhaps I should just simply douse myself in it and never look back.
Is this stuff permanent without being affected?
Indeed. Magic
assume
can
you-
undo it, but
I assume you have a can of one of the doses is a revert dose, right?
there's not a inherent reversal dosage, but whenever everyone joined, I wrote down where they were from so that I can give them the appropriate dosage to return them to what they're used to.
Fair enough. So I assume anybody who's turned into a vampire will be back to normal by the next round, right?
Of course. My polymorphic powder fundamentally changes your biology. Infections won't survive.
I'm assuming if that wasn't the case, you wouldn't have done this one.
Of course. I may not be perfect, I may make mistakes, but I was at least that careful. The ways of the ancient dragon slayers, I was sloppy. I got careless.
How did you test these?
I tested them myself. I invented the powder when I was a child. And I've been perfecting it ever since.
That's interesting. I could imagine that there'd be some people who'd like to. I'd imagine there's some people whose jobs involve sneaking around that would love to get their hands on this kind of stuff.
Of course. And I do occasionally deal it out to some of my comrades under the black flag, but I realized very quickly that science was not how I was going to be remembered. It's not that I'm incapable, it's simply that, well, think of it this way. Do you know my mother's name?
No, I do not, I must say.
She was a
I'm sure
genius.
I'm sure she was a perfectly fine Kappa.
She was. A genius astronomer who spearheaded our people's knowledge of the stars and the world around us to greater heights. And yet, in only a couple decades, she's been completely forgotten. Her knowledge still lives, but her name no longer attached to it. That's why I decided to abandon the pursuit of science in favor of entertainment. I realized
How
that
can you remove the name of the one who discovered something?
time takes its toll on all of us. Even after we're dead and gone, time takes its toll on our memory, the remembrance of who we once were. We can't all be elves, I'm afraid.
I'm sure time comes for elves eventually. It just probably takes an exceedingly large amount of time.
That it does. But with any luck, this tournament will be my chance to really be remembered forever.
Well, I hope it succeeds. Can Evasion check like where the sun is at?
The sun is pretty much set at this point because it was setting during the course of the conversation, and night has fallen on Plundon.
Well, I guess we both have to get to the same place, more or less.
That we do. If you'll give me a moment to change, I'd be happy to walk you back to the locker room.
I won't bother you too much longer. I can make my way back. I mean, unless you want.
All right. I'll see you in a few minutes then. I've taken up enough of your time. I need to change anyhow, and I don't want to keep you waiting. And he starts to disrobe, but he gives you a smile and a nod. Oh, and to avoid any inconvenience on you, you are welcome to enter the minor league locker room when you return.
Does it work like that?
He kind of gives a shrug. One way to find out. And he gives you a wink and a.
Maybe we'll head out to regroup with the group.
All right. Paul, Flowerfall, Asari, any matters you want to tend to before you're called out for your match?
Nope.
Paul may stay inside.
Okay. Flowerfall, if you're here. All right. Avaben, you return to the minor league locker room. However, much to your dismay, you find that it sadly does not work that way, and you're unable to cross the threshold. However, you see Nitro limping up not long after, and he kind of gives you a smile and, sorry, lad. And he steps over into the locker room and, you're welcome to enter, however brief it may be. And he gives you a bow and a wink.
Avaven will enter and he's going to say, well, I guess you should let your captain know that it didn't work.
I'll just be sure to do that, lad. Divine 5, Scorpio Sailors, you're up.
Well, maybe we'll look to Greylog. Well, Greylog, you're going to need to tell them.
Yep. And he turns to look at the Scorpio Sailors who are indeed just staring at him, waiting for orders. Scorpio Sailors, whenever the fight begins, you will lay down arms and surrender. And Wraith Blackheart gives a bow. Yes, master.
Avaven will look back to Nitro.
Who's just grinning manically.
Avaven will tell the same thing to the people he turned. And when their fight starts, they'll lay down their arms.
The Swarm Storm and the Bomb Squad do the same for their victims. And Nitro kind of leans against the door and against the frame of the doorway and just oh, this is going to be a quick one.
Are you impressed?
Quite, honestly. Most of the honestly, my betting was that all of you would have killed each other, infected or not.
Well, you worked out a little temporary alliance. Captain said it's happened from time to time.
Aye, but they don't tend to last long. But, and he kind of claps you on the shoulder. You've surprised me once, you can do it again. All right, come along. I'll walk you to the arena.
Very well.
Paul's gonna stay inside.
Yeah,
right.
don't mind him. He's been very concerned about these things.
Ah.
If possible, can he be allowed to sit out?
Well, of course, but and Nitro kind of steps closer to you, Paul, and gets down on. I mean, you're considerably tall, but he kind of like slouches a little bit to be able to kind of look you up and down. Are you all right, lad? Not taken to the powder, well?
Well, less that, more. Well, I am. I've been getting hungry, but that doesn't seem like a good thing, seeing as the case. But trying to get a cookie.
Well, that just won't do it all, lad.
But
And he kind of scratches at the side of his head in concern.
either way, I just don't see any point in. I'd rather not go out there and risk anything.
I understand, lad. I'll tell you what, once the fight starts, you want me to return here and give you your dose for the next round early? Get that hunger of yours in check before you hurt someone?
I mean, I would appreciate that, yes.
Of course, lad. I'll be back shortly. You stay in bed. Don't worry. As long as you don't move around too much, you won't have any problem with your tummy rumbles. And with that, he turns to the rest
Don't
of the
worry, Paul. This will be over very quickly.
Nitro kind of smirks, and at the rate you lot are going, I'm inclined to believe that. And he looks to you, Paul, and kind of gives you a nod. You stay put. Divine 5, the rest of you happy to head out without your companion?
I have no problem with it.
Yeah, if he's am more inclined to stay inside, sure.
Very well. Everyone else, with me. And with that, he gives you a final nod, Paul, to reassure you that he'll return before heading out and gesturing for all of you to follow as you begin making your way. The Scorpio sailors, for their part, are completely silent, just walking in an orderly fashion behind all of you as Greylog kind of pulls them along, basically. And eventually, you arrive at the first stop, and Nitro nods to the Scorpio sailors. If ye could command your spawn to stay put and come out when they're called. And Greylog kind of chuckles and does as told. And the Scorpio sailors give bows and nods, and Nitro gestures for the rest of you to follow as you head through the halls of Plundon. Alone, but you can already hear the sounds of a building crowd outside. As you make it to your door, Nitro stops and, all right, I'll call out the next fighters and see to it that your friend gets some treatment. Good luck. Not that you'll need it. And, well, I'll be back in a few minutes. Savvy?
I'm sure they'll find this impressive in a certain way.
That's what the captain's counting on. Let's hope he's right. And he tips his hat to all of you before tramping his way back down the hall. Outside, you hear the cheering crowd beginning to build up in height. Presumably, Imamu has taken the field and is getting ready, the announcements ready. And it doesn't take too long before there's a kind of muffled sound as his thaumaturgy begins to take hold, and one by one he begins to introduce all of you. The Underdark Underdog, the Butler of Brutality, the Twin Mind, the Archaeologist, and one by one, as all of you are called out, any just noteworthy thing for you guys' introductions this time? I know sometimes you guys like to flavor your entry into the arena itself.
Just waving, and just kind of making a show of it.
Yeah, I was just gonna know that Avaben, whenever they all come out, was gonna tell Mama that he should probably just not even leave the field.
Imamu at this kind of gives a wild grin, seeming really excited, and he turns to the audience and, "You hear that, folks? The Divine Five, our underdogs, seem to believe that this fight will be over in seconds. Let's see if they can prove it." And the crowd is going wild, not only from Avaben's display of confidence, but also seeing you guys already covered in blood. And they're just wondering, between that and Avaben's confidence, what exactly did you guys do? Eventually he turns. "In this corner, the indomitable musketeers of the sea, Lords of the Western Seas, the Scorpio Sailors! And the Scorpio crew take their positions on the field, but they don't appeal to the crowd. They don't even look to anyone but Greylog as they take the field, and their hands are already on their weapons, getting ready to disarm themselves. And Imamu steps to the edge of the arena, but not off of it as promised, and
Maybe we'll look to Greylong. Well, Greylong, show them our achievements.
he gives you a grin and a nod, and Imamu raises his hand. On the word go. 3, 2, 1, go! And Greylog simply waits as the crowd falls silent. Nothing happens. Some whispers begin to emerge among the pirates before Greylog steps forward. Throw down your weapons. And they all begin to do so. A pair of axes, a musket, a pair of knives and some grenades, blades, pistols, and bombs all begin to get thrown to the ground before them. As they do so, give a bow to Greylog, and simply turn and begin to walk off the field. And
Sufficient surrender, Captain.
Imamu looks really happy and impressed and immediately turns to the crowd. I cannot believe it, folks! Over the night, these creatures fed on their own members of the minor league and turned them. And the crowd begins to go wild, seeing one of the lords of pirates completely at the Divine Five's mercy.
Did they even see any of the other pirate lords, maybe, to see their reaction? Maybe like Erica, because I think he knows her.
Yeah, roll me 5d6.
Interesting.
Or, no, 5d10, sorry.
Well, that's what I was grabbing anyways. My brain didn't really compute the 6 part.
Yeah, that's on me. Totally fair.
The first 4. 10, 5, 4, 3.
10, 5. All right, so 2 successes, 2 fails.
And then I roll 1 more dice.
Yep.
Another 5.
Okay. As you kind of look to the crowd, as the crowd starts to cheer, you don't immediately see Erica anywhere. However, you do notice Brother Ares and his crew and child are like laughing uproariously, and you can see you can't obviously hear what they're saying specifically over the crowd, but you can see Brother Ares kind of shake his son by the shoulders. That's a tongue twister. And point to Brother Scorpio, and his son says something to him, and they both just start laughing. The crowd loves it. And as the Scorpio sailors kind of turn to see Mamu approaching them, he gives a wide gesture to the audience and... Well, folks, this might just be the shortest and most overwhelming victory in Plunden's history. Let's give it up for the Divine Five! And the crowd begins to go wild.
I'm just going to say to the captain, just so you know, all the other minor league versus minor league fights are going to be like this.
He, again, smiles cheerfully and kind of briefly clipping his thaumaturgy. He gives you a wink. Oh, I'm counting on it.
We told them all to do the same thing they did.
You're all much cleverer than you look, and you already looked pretty damn clever. Congratulations. And as he turns, he continues to just play the crowd as you know that it's going to take Nitro a hot sec to get out here and escort you back to the locker room. But your victory is in hand, and given how entertained the crowd seems to be, you guys are pretty confident you're not leaving the tournament anytime soon.
That momentum, baby.
Paul. you sit in a quiet locker room along with the remaining members of the minor league as eventually only about maybe 10 minutes pass and Nitro returns. And he gives a nod and Storm, deck stackers, you're up. And the Storm and the Bomb Squad nod to each other, and the orders are repeated as the Storm and the deck stackers both stand. And as they approach Nitro, all right. And he kind of mumbles to the two of them. Paul, you can't quite hear what he's saying, but it sounds like he's probably just telling them like where they need to go because he's busy right now. And he gives the Storm a pat on the shoulder and kind of gives a sympathetic smile to the deck stacker since he knows they aren't really themselves right now. And as the two teams leave, he kind of nudges his way back into the locker room and approaches you, Paul. Hello there, Mr. Paul. How's your hunger treating you?
I'm managing, though. After this, I might treat myself for something.
I'll tell you what. And he reaches into his pockets, and you can hear a few coins jingling before he reaches out and puts not even putting it into your hand, but you can feel him slide a coin purse into your pocket. And he kind of pats it, and you can hear it jingle a bit. It's on me. I'm sorry that the captain's lofty dreams is causing you such agony. Let's get you treated then, shall we? And he reaches into a deep pocket of his jacket and pulls a small cannonball from it.
That is a comically large cannonball.
And he kind of tosses it over in his hands and all right, you know just as well as I do this ain't gonna hurt, but and he kind of gives a nod. Hope this makes it a bit easier on you, mate. He reaches back and rather than just throwing it at you, he simply takes the fuse and nail of the cannonball out and all right, deep breaths now, mate. And he starts to sprinkle it over your head. Paul, do you do so?
I'm just taking deep breaths. I don't need to breathe. What are you talking about? No, he'll take a deep breath.
Well, you do need to take it in somehow.
Oh yeah. I guess he'll take a deep breath and make sure to get this potion working.
As the polymorphic powder takes hold, you breathe in deeply, and you feel the vampiric hunger and infection begin to fade. Your skin warms, your breathing returns, and as you look down at yourself, you don't see anything immediately different, but that's has been expected of every round, so you're not too thrown off by that. All right. We'll be waiting for you in the arena. Do you want to sit and sleep it off for a few minutes, or if you want, you can come along with me, and we'll get you in and out as quickly as possible. I'll let the captain know you've already been dosed.
Well, I mean, is there anything I should know about this round?
Ain't there always, mate? But I'm afraid I don't know the specifics on that. But if you want to sleep it off, you can ask the captain after your mate's return.
Well, at least, I may be a little hungry now, but I can get that later. Knowing what we're dealing with next would be quite handy.
All right. Come along, mate. I'll walk you to the arena. And he kind of gestures over his shoulder for you to follow.
And he will follow.
As you head out into the halls, and you're both just kind of walking silently for a moment, but eventually Nitro kind of chuckles and is the first one to break the silence and make some conversation with you. So, out of curiosity, what was it that you and your mates were out for the other night exactly? I figure you're probably just trying to get to the kitchens and abscond with some extra snacks, but figured maybe I should at least ask. Wouldn't exactly be doing my duty as a first mate if I didn't at least check in on such things. And he kind of gives a smile.
Well,
You need to bring your mic a little closer.
Yeah.
it is. The mic sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm eating my mic right now.
Okay, yeah, too much. Before, like, a few steps back was fine.
Yeah, like right next to my mic. Or mic. Well, I can't say I don't have at least some suspicions on what they do when they go out, but I mean, frankly, I don't bother with all that, so.
Anything you can tell me at all, at the very least?
You know what? Well, I mean, all I can really say to you is from what I've noticed is at least as long as there's nothing really like, incriminating, I mean, I don't see any reason to worry about them being out.
He kind of gives a bit of a shrug, and I'm not intending to punish them. Just curious what they were doing out so late is all. If we're not feeding you enough, I need to report that to the captain after all.
Well, we were at that state. Hunger was a bit on the different state. Feeding us would have been probably harder.
Paul, roll me 60 tens. And you have one blood dice.
Yeah, wait, well, actually, no, I got
Yeah, you got transferred back, remember?
Oh yeah, that's true. So
You
in
need to
this,
use the new system.
in that, so yeah, this will actually be a great segue to reveal the new system. Austin, you are just going to roll deception on your normal character sheet.
Oh, we're doing
Is
D5?
it 5?
Oh, I didn't say it was 5e. I just said that you can use your character sheet.
Is this 4th edition?
No. I'll tell you. I'll just tell you. You are now playing D20 Modern.
Oh, I don't know what that
The
is.
fuck is that?
It's a modification to 5th edition that allows you to use modern abilities and skills, basically so that you can play a 5e game set in the modern day without, because obviously proficiency with bows doesn't exactly do you a lot of good in the modern day, or proficiency with broadswords. So you guys for the next round will be playing D20 Modern, which is basically just a slightly modified 5th edition where firearms and stuff are more prevalent, and things like driving cars are useful skills.
I guess we ain't gonna be doing that.
Yeah. So he said deception, right?
Yes, deception.
Alright, I'm not good at that. Yeah. 13.
You can see Nitro kind of hums thoughtfully, but you do get the impression he doesn't believe you. He thinks that there's more that you're not letting on, but eventually he kind of shrugs and, well, far from my business, I suppose. Feel a bit more comfortable, and he kind of looks to you, kind of looking you up and down to make sure you're not getting uncomfy.
Well, as I mentioned, once we get the announcements, I might see about, I guess, going through one of my rations. I'm pretty sure we can't really go out and eat, but either way.
Yeah, he kind of gives you a guilty smile, and the captain got a little too excited on this one, didn't exactly think it through. I'd be happy to escort you up to the top deck if you need food, but if not, then he kind of hesitates for a moment, and I'll bring you and your mates and those in the minor league something to snack on through the night. No need for you to go through your own, mate.
I appreciate that. But yeah, other than, a little parched and hunger, I mean, at least I feel better, I feel alive.
Well, that's an improvement. Paul, anything noteworthy you want to say to Nitro while you're alone, or are you just content to follow and be ready for the announcements of the next round?
I guess he will. Yeah, he's just ready for. He's ready for the next day.
All right. Nitro does say one last thing to you as you're walking. He's at this point getting ready to head out to the arena to retrieve your comrades, but as he's about to cross the threshold and get out into the arena to fetch the Divine Five, he kind of pauses in the doorway and turns to you. If you don't mind me asking a question, mate.
I mean, I don't mind at all.
Have you seen anything odd on this ship?
Personally, no, I have not seen anything of noteworthy. I mean, but I don't really, do a whole lot of. I don't really do a whole lot of, exploring of that matter. But you can at least, if you wish, you can ask my friends. Maybe they might know.
Well, I figure your mates might be a little sour with me. I had to play bad cop the other night. Thought it might be best to ask you.
Sadly, I haven't really noticed anything personally.
Well, thanks anyway, mate. You wait here. Be right back. And with that, he slouches through the doorway and makes his way back out to the arena. Those of you at the arena, as you celebrate your well-earned strategic victory, is there anything noteworthy you'd like to do before accompanying Nitro as he steps out to retrieve you?
No, not really. Not on my end.
Okay. Nitro stomps his way across the arena, giving you all a broad smile. Well, that didn't take long at all. All right. Follow me this way. We're just wrapping up the last of the fights. From sounds of it, won't take too long, and we'll be ready to announce the next round.
Very well. All right. Who are the other fights in the minor league?
He kind of thinks for a second. You get the impression Nitro working in the engine rooms doesn't seem super aware, but he says, well, once we've had this arena cleared, next up is going to be the Swarm Storm and the Deck Stackers. I have them getting ready in the meanwhile, now that I've given your friend his treatment. I believe after that, he kind of thinks for a moment, and I believe the Bomb Squad and the Seven Samurai are going toe-to-toe in one of the other arenas at the moment. And he seems like he's deep in thought. I can't rightly recall who exactly is fighting the firing line. No, I don't stick around to watch a lot of the fights. I just go to retrieve them after all's said and done. Major league fights typically happen after the minor league ones, so I'll be checking the notice boards for that afterwards.
What if there's an uneven number of minor league teams left and one of them's going to fight a major league?
Oh, they are. I just don't rightly recall who exactly it is in the major league they're going up against. Major leaguers are still getting ready for their fights.
So they get to go off of major league time?
Aye. And I got a head full of keeping this ship and crew functioning properly like a well-oiled machine. I'm afraid I can't remember all of your silly nicknames.
Then who tells you who to go get?
Captain does.
Is the captain like nearby?
Yeah, you can see Imamu's across the field. You remember that he typically escorts the losing team because he wants them to feel better about losing, so he makes sure that he talks to them personally.
Is he within earshot?
If you raise your voice, you imagine he might be able to hear you over the crowd.
Vade's go like, which minor league team's facing a major league?
He kind of perks up and looks over his shoulder at you, and seeming kind of surprised by the question, but he eventually gives you a smile and, if I recall correctly, and he thinks for a moment, I believe that the firing line's going to be going up against the Monster Master today.
The firing line, who has their control?
The Swarm Storm.
Okay, so it's up to them.
Wait, hold on. Firing line. No. The firing line of Vaben controls them, but he already gave them the order to surrender.
Yeah.
So
Really,
the
he
monster.
might save them a beating.
Yeah, the Monster Master has a very easy victory today.
Given he's not the one who turned anybody, so he might actually be hurt by this.
Very true. Remains to be seen. As you're all brought off the field by Nitro, you see Paul is already waiting for you, and his skin seems flushed and alive. It appears he's been given a preemptive dose of polymorph powder to ease the pain of his hunger. And Nitro smiles to all of you and, well, I'm sure you're right tired of empty bellies and bloody mouths. Let's get you dosed up.
Do you also have something to clean up with, finally?
Here you go, mate. And he kind of fishes around in his pocket, eventually pulls out a somewhat dirty-looking handkerchief, but tosses it to you.
The Raven just kind of looks at it. How dirty is it?
It's got that kind of because it's one of those kind of cloth ones, so it kind of has that distinct
Does
yellow.
blood stain pretty easily?
Yep.
Raven's like, I don't know how much of an effect this is going to have at this late stage.
He kind of shrugs after a moment, and if you like, you can hit the showers after the announcements go by.
Probably will need to.
Sounds good, mate. At the very least, you're not allergic to running water anymore.
They were allergic to running water?
Wait, what? That was a thing?
Oh, aye. If I were to throw you overboard in this state, you'd,
Well, please avoid doing that.
I'll think about it, mate. And he kind of claps you on the shoulder.
You might want to be careful. I have a nasty bite right now.
Oh, you'd truly bite the first mate and head engineer just for making a wee joke.
Depends on how real that joke is.
Given that I caught your mates sneaking out when they weren't supposed to, and I let you off with a warning, I'm not exactly in the throwing overboard sort of mood. But who knows? Maybe I'll wake up on the wrong side of the bed tomorrow.
Well, tomorrow I'll be able to swim again.
He kind of gives you a smile and kind of affectionately rolls his eyes and pats you on the head. All right, come along, mates. Let's get you all juiced up.
And off we go.
At this point, you guys have kind of settled into the routine of Plundon. About 10 minutes go by, 20 maybe, before most of the fights have wrapped up, especially given the speed with this competition. And one by one, you all gather on the arena as everyone who came to watch the fights gathers up. Overall, despite how quick this round went by, seeming pretty satisfied. They got a lot of fun visuals of blood-spattered monsters either fighting or demonstrating their existing control over over an opponent. And as promised, their imaginations have done a lot of the work. And as everyone lines up, Imamu starts to patrol up and down, but Paul, you feel a hand on your shoulder as Nitro kind of tugs at you, and all right, let's head off to the side. Don't need you getting dosed up twice.
I mean, is there a problem if that happens?
He kind of shrugs a little bit, and honestly, not sure, but I don't know if you're exactly eager to find out.
you're not wrong. I guess let's head out. Let's do that.
All right. As you're pulled back, Nitro kind of puts his hands in his pockets and just kind of looks out at the crowd as the captain kind of patrols up and down curiously. And Paul, as Nitro stands alongside you, he's kind of quiet for the most part, but then eventually you hear him kind of speak up a little bit. You're just barely able to hear him over the crowd. Thought maybe I should inform you, mate. Pass word along to your mates as well. We're going to be doing some repairs on the ship. Struck a reef during the night. So if you hear anything weird in the walls tomorrow, just have some repairs I need to make. Steam pipes and whatnot.
I'll make sure to pass on the message.
Thanks, mate. Saves me the trouble. Captain's been struggling a lot with rumors circulating lately. Last thing we need is for people to hear the ship settling or pipes creaking and think that we're doing something crazy.
Well,
at this point, oh, sorry, you go ahead.
I hope nobody causes you trouble, at least.
You and me both, mate. You and me both. And he looks out as Imamu seems to come to a conclusion on who he's going to let continue. And I've made my decision. Although it pains me to punish a comrade, he gestures to Wraith Blackheart. Our friends, our comrades, and for some of you, your nobility in the Scorpio sailors, let his guard down and found himself bitten by the creatures of the night while they were asleep. Completely defenseless. And you can hear a few people start to kind of whisper and mumble about that, because that has some implications for what kind of captain he is. But as Imamu gives a smile, but we see them off with grace as we ready our next round in the tournament. Scorpio sailors, if you can remember any of this when you get your next dose, you may pack your things, but you are free to stay on the vessel as long as you like. And he turns back to the crowd and also kind of looks over all of you excitedly as he prepares to start announcing the next one. Now, we've had a lot of fun tonight, and for the previous few nights, looking at tragedies of the past. Great crusades against dragons, battles against demons, the stories we grew up on as children, and memories of monsters from an army long defeated. And the crowd all kind of cheer as he smiles and looks over at all of you with a wild, mischievous smile. But ever since I was a child, I've been a man of science. And I had a conversation today with one of our fighters that made me realize we spent too long today looking to the past. And I think it's time this tournament, this ship, and all pirates begin to look to the future. And he smiles as you can all see the cannons being loaded and the barrels being tilted down to all of you. I have put my own mind to work imagining what the future of piracy may look like. What sort of weapons deranged men will come up with. What sort of wars will be fought. What sort of things we cannot even comprehend may be created. And with some imports from some friends overseas, stocking our armory, and my own mind to divine, with the best of my scientific ability, what the world may look like in a few generations, I think it's time we begin our next round. No special rules. It will simply be a battle until one team is no longer standing. Although, Perhaps nightly sabotage may become something of a ritual. We'll simply have to see. And he looks over all of you. Your natural skill sets will be reset back to normal. However, you are welcome to check the armory to look for a few more, shall we say, advanced luxuries that you may come to enjoy. After all, what good is the sword against the bow? What good is the bow against the firearm? And what good is the firearm against whatever else I've got on this ship? And you can see that gets people interested. Fire! And the cannons all begin to loose their payloads down onto you as Nitro kind of shields you a bit from it, Paul, as the polymorph powder spreads among all of you. You return to your 5th edition skill sets. And as Imamu gives a happy look, as everyone seems equally delighted to have returned to normal, that doesn't last too long, as Avaben, you hear the sound of a gun cocking as Wraith Blackheart has unsheathed his pistol and leveled it at Greylog. Right. With that little bit of magic out of the way, down to business. You've got something of mine, mate, and I'd like it returned. And he holds out his hand to retrieve his not only wealth, but signifier of nobility.
I was gonna say, when he pointed a weapon at Greylog, since he's back to his 5th edition stuff, so I know how it works still, he's gonna point the Forge Coast pistol at him.
He kind of scowls, and you can see a very young-looking person in shabby clothes next to him pulls out 2 pistols and levels them at you.
Evane's gonna like, how about we put the weapons down?
Oh, I'm out of the competition. I have nothing to gain from shooting you. I simply wish to receive back what is mine, unless you intend to let a thief go unpunished.
Raven will just look to Grayla and be like, it might be for the best if you give them back what they want.
Greylog seems kind of torn and is debating. And as he opens his mouth to say whether he will return their belongings or not, that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
I guess I technically could have used the pistol at any point, but
yeah, its effects would have changed.
I assume with this, its effects will be pretty much the same.
Yeah, but basically, the only thing you guys have to worry about for this, everything is exactly as you left it. The only things that are different is there's some new spells that the spellcasters can try to use. And as promised, Imamu has stocked his armory with equipment that you guys can use that I'm just going to tell you is flatly better than pretty much anything you have right now. So if you...
The Forge Cast pistol?
The Forge Cast pistol's unique abilities will still be helpful, but basically, let me put it this way. A machine gun is just going to flatly do more damage than even a magic flintlock. You feel me?
That magic flintlock does its instant kill ability.
If it does.
Yeah. I can't remember. I honestly forgot what the conditions are for that.
I mean, yeah, we're wrapping up, so you can just check your character sheet whenever. Let me get the outro stuff pulled up. If you all want to see more of my DMing, check out twitch.tv/GrahamCrackers, GrameCrackers, for my Friday campaign, The Goldshine Investigations, at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time. While we are no longer streaming, the archives of the previous episodes, as we had our grand finale last week, should still be up on the channel for some time. And if you want to see everything you missed, go to Anarian's Rest YouTube channel, or you may check the Odd Tornado Productions YouTube channel, where I have a playlist of every uploaded episode if you want to see more of this setting and my DMing chops. Check out our website at officiald5hub.info. Resurrected from the grave like a filthy necromancer who may or may not get a submachine gun. Check out our link in chat to join our official D5 Discord server if you want to hang out with us directly, and support our episodes posted on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Google Podcasts, and the iHeart Podcast Network, wherever you happen to get them from. For our audio listeners, catch us live on Mondays at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time on twitch.tv/Odd Tornado Productions, and of course, Odd Tornado Productions on YouTube if you want to catch up on what you missed. Check out Odd Tornado Productions Official on Tumblr to find links to our other works, including our Human Paladins Twitch channel at twitch.tv/AustinFreak123. If you enjoy what we do, please support us on Patreon. That link's about to be posted as well. On Ko-fi at kofi.com/oddtornadoproductions, and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/tornadoodd. The TNO are capitalized. And if you like this party and want to see more of them, plus or minus a few, tune in tomorrow, Tuesdays at 7 o'clock Central Daylight Time, for our Tuesday game of Black Ink and Blue Blood, featuring a party of politicians and nobles who are trying to unravel a political conspiracy if they can stop stabbing each other in the back long enough. Thanks everybody at the table so much for playing. Thanks everyone at home so much for watching, and we'll see you all next week.